What's up, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Trevor. I'm the student pastor over the Dixon campus. Guys, I cannot believe that we are 3 weeks into the new year already. 2021 we're in it. It's nuts. But guys, a little bit about me. I was growing up, I lived on a small farm for the majority of my childhood. I lived on a little farm in the middle of North Carolina. And this is the whole picture. This is how I grew up. So I grew up and everything, all I cared about was being a cowboy. All I cared about was having fun and saving the day. So I spent every single day, every moment I had, hanging out in the woods with my cowboy hat on, gun around my waist, and that was me. I was preparing to protect my family from all the bad guys in the woods and all that stuff. It was kind of weird. And the only time I would come in when it was time to eat or I had to do some chores or whatever. But in March, about 16 years ago, my brother, he was turning 10 or 11 years old, which would put me at about 8 or 9 years old. And for this birthday party, we had all our buddies over, all of us dressed up with our cowboy hats, our guns around our waist, and we're having a big old cowboy birthday party. Tons of fun. We're having a lot of fun, running around the woods, doing all the thing. It's like halfway through the day, we're having a blast, and we're in the middle of, so you can picture my house, and then there's like this pasture and then a hill, okay? So we're hanging out right in this pasture, and there's this big hill. And we're playing around, we're like seeing who can draw their pistol the fastest. And we're just having a good time. And then we hear all this screaming and yelling, and we look up, and on this hill, there's these two grown men with these masks around their hands, and they have guns in their hands, and they start running down this hill, screaming like crazy, and they're running right at us. And obviously, we start freaking out. All those days training in the woods, trying to protect myself and my family, went out the window. I turned around and ran like a little girl, screaming, absolutely terrified, running toward the house. I ran inside, ran straight to my mom. I'm probably crying at this point, hugging my mom. And then a few short moments later, my Uncle Russell and Uncle Joe walk in the front door, revealing that they were pretending to be bank robbers to add a little bit of fun for the birthday party. Oh, guys, scared me half to death. So funny, though. And we still joke about that story to this day. But the question is, why would I tell you guys this story? And here's why. Because over the last couple weeks, we've been talking about emotions. And we've been diving into what does it look like for us to handle our emotions in a healthy way? What does it look like for us to handle emotions and not let them take control of us, not let them become the boss of us? Because like we talked about, yes, emotions are great servants, but they're terrible, terrible masters. And today, we're going to be talking about fear. There are moments, there's big moments of fear, just like that one where these two grown men are chasing me and my buddies down this hill into the house. But there's also just little fears and anxieties that seem to plague our mind on a daily basis, and we all experience those. See, the truth is, we all have experienced this fear. We've all experienced this anxiety to a degree, and we all react differently to that fear, though. Maybe for you, when you experience the fear, the only thing that you do is you can't get your head out of it. You're just consumed with this anxiety, this fear, and it seems like it takes up every single moment of your life, every bit of things going on in your head. It's like all consumed around this fear. Maybe you're on the opposite, and you're like, you know what? I don't want to experience or feel any bit of this fear, so every time I feel even a little bit of this fear kind of creep up, I'm going to run in the opposite direction and hope that it doesn't catch me. Whether you're on one side or the other, you have probably experienced one of those two sides. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle. But the thing is, that's interesting to me is what's true about fear is it seems that our imagination seems to play a big part in how we experience fear. So you think about it. We often only fear what we can imagine. We fear we might not, make the team. We might get sick. We fear that we might get dumped by the boy or girl that we like. And our imagination ends up leading us in this endless cycle of what ifs. And this what if cycle goes on and on and on. And we think to ourselves, well, what if I never make the friends I want? What if my parents get divorced? What if I never get taller? That's a big one for some. What if my sister doesn't get any better? And what if my boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with me? What if God isn't real? What if I fail my class? What if I have to move? What if my family has to move and I'm going to lose all these friends? What if I get in trouble? What if my dad loses his job? What if I don't make the team? What if I don't feel any different than the way I feel right now? And I don't want to feel this way. What if my acne never goes away? See, y'all, our imaginations can run away with itself. Our imagination can drive us crazy, and when we begin to question things, worry, and fear begins to creep in each one of us. And when the fear creeps in, we have a tendency, something natural, innate inside of us, to react in one of three ways. We fight. Maybe for some of you, you fight against any bit of fear that comes up. You obsess over what you can control, and the thing that brings fear in is you hope that it doesn't come true. So you're gonna do whatever you can to make sure it doesn't come true. Like maybe you overstudy, or you stress about school like crazy, so that you don't get a poor grade because you're afraid that if you get a poor grade, maybe you'll disappoint your parents, or something along those lines. Maybe you practice for a sports team, and you just obsess over that game. You obsess over that sport because you're so afraid that if you don't obsess over it, you don't give it all your energy, all your time, all your thoughts and everything, then maybe you won't make the team, or maybe it's just you won't be the starter on the team like you think you should be or you want to be. Maybe for you it's flight. Maybe you flee. Maybe you run from every time you begin to feel the fear creep in, you just run from it. You run the opposite direction. You don't even try out for the sports team because you have the fear that if you did try out, you might not make it, so why even try out? Or maybe you have a crush on this cute girl because you want to talk to her, but you're afraid that she might not like you back, so you bail and you don't talk to her. Maybe you're in the third category. Maybe when fear comes up with you, you just freeze. You pause in your tracks, and when you feel fear, you just freeze and wait for the fear to go away. Maybe when this cute girl walks up to you that you have a crush on, you just freeze and wait for her to go away because it's terrifying talking to a pretty girl. And I get it. So you just shut off and you shut it out. But no matter how you react to fear, the truth is we all experience and react to fear in some way or another. And here's what I don't want you to hear. I'm not saying that experiencing fear or having fear in your life is a bad thing. It's not. It actually can be really healthy. Fear of saying, okay, I'm not gonna reach my hand in this fire because I'll get burnt. That's a healthy thing. But it's just like we said earlier. Fear is a great servant, but it's a terrible master. So let's master our fears. The danger comes in when fear starts to control us, when fear starts to overtake us, when it becomes the boss of us, the boss of our thoughts, and then our actions, and then even fear can become the boss of our lives. And that's when it gets dangerous. And when we see the fear start to come in that unhealthy way, that's when we need to find a new way to face our fears. So that's what we're going to talk about over the next couple minutes. And one thing I love about the Bible is that it's full of very real people who have very real experiences just like mine and yours, who have real emotions just like mine and yours. And today we're going to look at an experience from some of Jesus' closest friends, his followers, the disciples, and I think it can teach us a lot about how we can face our fear. See, Jesus spent all of his time with these 12 disciples, and you would think that these guys, because they spent so much time with Jesus, that they would have no reason to fear because they spent time with the Son of God who did miracles nonstop. But we see in Matthew chapter 8, verses 23, that's not exactly the case. They actually experienced fear just like we do. So here, let's jump in. Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a ferocious storm came up upon the lake, and the waves swept in over the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us! We're going to drown." So guys, picture this. The disciples were traveling around with Jesus. They're they're fishing, they're having a good time, and the day goes on, and then all of a sudden, Jesus is like, "Hey, you guys, I'm going to go take a nap," and they're like, "All right, go do your thing." But after Jesus goes to sleep, he's sleeping for a little while, the storm comes in, and it starts going crazy. It says the waves come in on the boat. So you can picture this little boat, and waves are literally crashing in on the boat. Absolutely terrifying. The boat's probably rocking. They think they're going to die. And they're like, holy cow, okay, we need to do something. We're going to die. And they run down to Jesus and they find him taking a nap. Can you imagine how frustrating that would be? They're like, okay, you obviously are the one in control here, but we need you to wake up. So they're freaking out just like me and you would. And they're like, Jesus, wake up. This is how Jesus replies. He replies, he says, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and he rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." Man, I love that. What's so cool about this is Jesus did exactly what only Jesus could do, what only he was capable of doing. He took the very thing that these disciples were so scared of, and he stopped it dead in his tracks. He eased their fears, not just by stopping the wind and the waves, but by proving that there was something else, something that they can choose in the face of fear other than the fear, and that's faith. See, look back at what Jesus said. He says, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" What I love is Jesus saying, you don't have to be afraid. There's no need to fear because there is someone, me, Jesus, who is more capable and more powerful than fear. And that's what I'm offering. That's why I came. That's why I came to give you. So why many of you, like none of us are tossed around in a real storm, in an ocean on a boat. Sometimes our fear can feel a lot like that. Or what's internally happening oftentimes feels like a big storm being tossed around. As we believe in Jesus, we have more options than just to be afraid. We can react to fear in a different way. What is natural is for us to fight fear, is for us to flee from fear, is for us to freeze when fear is confronted with us. But Jesus offers us a supernatural gift, and that gift is faith. Because the truth is when everything seems out of control, when our spirit seems out of control, our spirit seems out of control, Jesus is still on the throne. Jesus is still in control. He's ready for us, and we can trust in him. Does this mean that there's not going to be hard times, there's not going to be storms in our lives? Absolutely not. There's so much to be afraid of. But what I am saying is that with faith, this gets us through the times that we can be fearful of. This faith is with us, even when the fear goes away. It's with us throughout the fear, and that's what's so amazing about this gift that God offers us. All right, so what? What do we do with our fears? How do we have faith? How do we live this out? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you. Peter, this is one of the other disciples of Jesus. He was actually on that boat that night with the storms crashing in and the craziness. So he experienced very real fear. And this is what he says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 7. He says, "Cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you." Another word for anxieties is fear. It says, cast all your fear on Jesus because he cares for you. Why? Because Jesus cares for you. He loves you. He wants to take on all of our fears just because he loves you, simply because he cares about you so much. When I picture in this passage, he says, cast it all on him. So what I picture is like this really heavy backpack full of picture like rocks or whatever, but this backpack is the fear. This backpack is holding us down. It weighs like 1,000,000 pounds and it's just dragging us to the ground. And what Jesus is saying is slip off this book bag, slip off this backpack full of rocks and just hand it to me. Give it to me. Let me take it from you. I want to carry it for you because I love you, because I care about you. And because he loves us, he wants to take all that away. All right, so that's pretty cool. He wants to take it away. So how do we give it to him? Simply put, guys, we pray. Jesus wants us to invite him in to our fears. He wants us to bring our fears to him and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is my fear. This is what I'm going through right now. Please just be there with me. Praying helps us remind ourselves, remind our soul what is really true. It helps us right size those what ifs we were talking about, and it helps us trust in the true things that God has in store for us. No matter what is really going on, Jesus allows our hearts to settle. And another thing that's helped me a lot throughout the years, giving my fears, casting my fears on God, is just writing them down, taking time to journal, saying, Lord, this is what I'm fearful of. Will you just help me work through this? And lastly, just ask Jesus to give you more faith. When you're struggling to give it to God, when you're struggling to feel the faith, when you're struggling to just say, Lord, it's yours, continue to just ask God, hey, Lord, I'm struggling to have faith right now. Will you just give me a little bit more? Fear does not have to be the boss of you guys. Now here's the truth. Not one of you here are meant to do this alone. You're not meant to do this whole faith journey alone, do your whole relationship with Jesus alone. And what's so cool about that is your group and your group leaders are designed to help you walk through life right now, to walk through these fears right now. So as you begin discussion tonight, be honest with your groups. Every single one of you in the group has experienced fears, so use this time to take one step forward in responding healthily to your fear. See you guys next week.